Hello, puzzle people. Welcome if it's your first time here. Welcome back if you've been here before. This is part 4 of my 2025 World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships recap series. Hello to all the new subscribers as well on this channel, and thank you to everyone who's been sharing and commenting on these recap videos as well as the other content on this channel. In these videos, I'm trying to be as honest and as candid as possible when it comes to my experience at the 2025 World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships, as well as the experiences of others, and sharing information from them and through credible sources as well. There are still a few more videos to go in this series, so I do hope you stick through right to the end so you can experience the full story arc. In the first 3 parts of this series, I went over the opening of the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships, the Nations Challenge, as well as the first 2 days of competition that looked at the individual qualifiers and the individual semifinals. Each video in this series builds on the previous one, so if you haven't already done so, I would encourage you to go back and start at the beginning of the series. There are jokes that kind of link all the way through in this, but yeah, I'd highly recommend doing that. You don't have to, it's up to you, but I would watch all of them. Now we move on to the puzzling events that took place on Thursday, September 18th, was the first day of the pairs competition, which is 4 qualifier rounds and 2 semifinal rounds. At this point in the week, none of us really think anything is going to go smoothly, so we are just trying to stay as focused on the puzzling events as possible and trying to enjoy our time in Spain and the city and at the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship. The previous day, new cooling units were brought into the dome, which I have mentioned quite a few times was extremely hot. They were being moved around the room on the Wednesday, being plugged in for a bit, then moved to a different location. Not much was happening with them, at least nothing to contribute to potentially cooling down the dome. On Thursday, however, they were plugged in and mostly ready to go. Installing these units is loud. Hammering them into place or drilling them into place, whatever it was that they were doing, it was loud. So it made perfect sense for them to do this during the competition rounds, because as we know, domes are notorious in their architectural design to mute sound and definitely not bounce all over the walls everywhere, in addition to all the people that were also in the dome. So good choices being made on this day as well. Thursday, if I do remember correctly, it has been a few weeks since this happened. It was the hottest day of the week. This was kind of the peak of the heat wave that was going through Spain in general, but definitely through Valladolid. And so we kind of felt lucky that we were able to get some cooling units, and hopefully they worked. The problem is that these were not air conditioning units that were being brought in, but instead they're called evaporative coolers, or also known as swamp coolers, which is the perfect name for the conditions these units were being rolled into. If you're not familiar with what evaporative coolers are, they essentially rely on humidity to operate. Essentially, the machines take water from the humid air outside, turn it into a cooler gas, water vapor, and blows that out into the area to cool it down. Similar to how our bodies sweat and to cool us down, and then the sweat evaporates, and we kind of keep repeating that cycle. If you have been in the dome this entire week, sweating wasn't helping anyone cool down, as was evident by the amount of tabletop fans. For puzzlers to voluntarily give up space on a already small table to dedicate it to a fan, that tells you how hot it is. Go back and watch the live streams. The number of people that had those ridiculous fans around their necks that were sold out in the entire city of Valladolid. But I understand doing that. There's a bunch of people that had cool towels that they were prepping in advance to drape on their shoulders to kind of cool their body heat down. Once humidity gets to a certain level, also known as the wet bulb temperature, sweating does very little to help cool anything down. And it's the same case when it comes to these evaporative coolers. Once you get to a certain point of humidity, you're not going to be able to balance that out regardless of how many machines you have. And when it comes to using evaporative coolers, you do need to leave a door or window open to kind of help promote air circulation. So if you're at the dome and you're kind of wondering why all the doors were still open, that's essentially why. You have to have air circulating in and out. The evaporative coolers take the humid air from outside and kind of blow cool air inside, unlike a refrigeration, an air conditioning unit, which does something similar, but prefers a closed system inside to just pump in cold air. Evaporative coolers, they work slowly. They are supposed to be better for the environment, I guess, but when it's as hot and humid as it was, they could have had 100 of these machines. It wasn't going to do much. So over the course of the day, we saw them come up with other plans. Some stuff they tested earlier in the week, and we'll see if it works on the Thursday. It doesn't. The swamp coolers did work if you were standing directly in front of them. So if you're one of the lucky 3 or 4 people to find yourself directly in front of one of the coolers, then being inside would have been fine. But as soon as you were a competitor that was 10 to 50 feet away from the nearest cooler, it wasn't going to do much. So, however, it seemed deceptive because, similar to the day before, the first event of the day was taking place at 9 a.m. So it's probably a bit cooler in the morning. But that really has less to do with the coolers and the fact the building was empty all night, and having the sun set and kind of cool down the entire country of Spain overnight is not something I'm going to be crediting the WJPF with. I don't really think they control that, so no congratulations necessary to them. We would have to wait until midday to see if the coolers were actually working, and if they're really going to do their job. And we genuinely wanted that to be the case with the heat issues that have taken place in the previous days, and the number of people that were feeling heat stroke symptoms, people that were passing out, the ambulance, at least one, if not more, being called. We do hope the coolers actually work, because we don't want to get to the point where it becomes dangerous. And there is going to be more competitors in the dome over the next few days because of the events taking place. Because we're now into the pairs events, when it came to the individual rounds, there was about 165 participants in each round, give or take a couple people. So that's 165 tables being used, or spots being used. In the pairs rounds, there is still about 165 pairs in each round, still using 165 spots, give or take a couple. But that means we're at over 300 participants on the competition floor, plus additional spectators. And because it's the first day of pairs events, you're going to have more spectators show up to kind of see how it runs. And so that dome is going to get hot very, very quickly. So let's look at the first day of pairs events and the rounds and the puzzles that came up in each of those. This is also the first time in World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship history that the pairs qualifiers were going to present each pair with 2 puzzles, similar to how the individuals did it. You have 2 puzzles, you have to choose one of them and complete that puzzle. Keeping in mind, once you choose a puzzle, you are not supposed to switch to another one. I don't think that ever became an issue during it. It wasn't explicitly stated in the rules, but it was kind of explained. There's a lot of clarity that wasn't present throughout the week, and that definitely comes up in the teams round as well. One good aspect of having 2 puzzles to choose from is that in the pairs round is that each person will get to go home with a puzzle. I've always thought that there should be 2 puzzles given, especially with how international some of the teams are becoming, trying to choose who gets which puzzle. Just give them 2 puzzles, and that should also be the case once you get to the semifinals and the finals. Give each pair a copy of the puzzle. I know the companies want to make money and sell the new puzzles, but we've traveled there, and I'm going to get into this even more in this video, but just give them 2 puzzles. They've spent the money to be there. Throw us something. What's not so nice about having the 2 puzzles is that the decision factor is still in play, and I've been quite clear on this in the previous videos. I do not like the decision option that was brought in for the individuals and pairs this year. I don't even like it for the teams. I know it's been around longer, but I don't like it for that either. Just give us everyone the same puzzle. It's easy to measure who's the fastest, who's not. You don't need to second guess yourself after, did I make the right choice? Did I not? You're just adding extra pressure into an already intense competition. Get rid of that decisions. But this first round, this first qualifier in pairs is going to further confirm that Ravensburger is just clearing out their warehouse. Thank you to the person who commented on a previous video that said the WJPC now just stands for the World Jigsaw Puzzle Clearinghouse, because that is exactly what seems to be happening. The first round saw Student Days and the Barbie Circle puzzle as the 2 options. For the second year in a row, a brand name puzzle has made an appearance at the World Championships. But Barbie showing up is a big surprise. I mean, it's not like a Disney puzzle or anything, because unleashing those as an option would be crazy. But Barbie's still quite a big name. And yeah, it's a bit shocking that that puzzle showed up. But Student Days is where people had a real issue. There were some sentiments that were building up during the individual qualifiers, and now that this is happening again in the pairs qualifiers, there are quite a few more people that are becoming more and more upset at the puzzles that have been chosen for this year's World Championship qualifiers. I didn't get into this too much in the previous videos, but I will now, because now it's super evident what is happening. And as I said, there are more and more people that are becoming upset at these puzzle choices. In the individual rounds, from what I can find, at least 4 of the puzzles were from previous World Championships. Not national championships, which I kind of discussed in a previous video already, but previous World Championships. Look, I get using puzzles from previous national championships. It gives you a baseline for timing, I guess. You can kind of see which puzzles would work in a competition. You don't accidentally choose something that's overly difficult and a lot of people don't finish. For example, in 2023, the Lupins were used as an individual qualifier, which I'll talk about in a bit. But that was overly difficult for an individual round. It can also help you not choose something super simple, like, I don't know, a New York postcard or a Paris postcard. But hey, those decisions got made as well. I don't agree. Again, I don't agree with using national championship puzzles, but I get it. However, when it comes to reusing World Championship puzzles that have been used in previous years, it's not just lazy, it's disrespectful to the competitors. There are thousands of people that are traveling to this event. They're spending a lot of time and money to be here. They are using up vacation days that they may have to decide between returning to Valladolid again for a week and a bit, or traveling somewhere else in the world. And in today's day and age, money is a concern for quite a few people, and how you budget your money and where you decide to spend your money is a big deal for a lot of people. But people are choosing to return to the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships run by the WJPF and Ravensburger. They need to consider the decision people are making and don't make them second guess themselves. When it comes to the puzzles you choose to give people to compete in, the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum, would be to give people puzzles they haven't already seen at the same competition. I don't mean in the same year. If they repeated the same puzzle in the same year, it would be chaos. But people return to the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships using the same puzzle that has already been used before would be very frustrating. Most of the duplicate puzzles this year were from the 2023 World Championship, so just 2 years earlier. It's not like it was the 2019 version, which was 6 years before, where, okay, maybe you could get away with using some of those puzzles. It's been 6 years. They might not be a big of a focus, but something within that has only been used 2 years previously. If I had been there for that year and then returned this time only to get the same puzzles, I would be furious. I'm angry now, and it doesn't even apply to me. I can't imagine the people that spent time and money to go to the World Championships and then potentially to have gotten the same puzzle this year. And it wasn't just one round. We're already at least 4 puzzles in the individual round, and we're not done yet. So it's possible that you ended up in rounds each time in individuals and in pairs that you're getting the same puzzle you did 2 years ago. The worst was this year's individual Qualifier C, where both puzzle options were from the 2023 World Jigsaw Championship. But it's both puzzles. Both. The frustration I would have would be through the roof if I had been in that round and at 2023 with both those puzzles. I mean, just put some effort and pride into your event. This is so disrespectful from the WJPF, from Ravensburger. Honestly, you should be embarrassed at yourselves for letting this even happen. There aren't hundreds of other puzzles in the world in your own company that you could have chosen from. Ignore the fact that you can easily make new puzzles that are going to sell out at Worlds and you can resell online. Forget that factor where that would actually show some proper effort for the World Championships, like you do for the Canadian Nationals, for the US Nationals, for the British Nationals, not for the European, any of the countries there. So if I'm from Europe, where we're right beside the Ravensburger main factory and you're not getting new puzzles, I'd be angry at that. But when it comes to the World Championships, pick a puzzle that hasn't been used. You can't tell me you can't walk into that factory, that warehouse, multiple warehouses, I'm assuming, and pick something off the shelf. It's like, whoa, we haven't used this in the last 2 years. Why not pick puzzles from the 80s? Do a vintage year. No one is going out and finding those re-release puzzles that have been released 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. How old is Ravensburger? I know it's multiple decades upon decades upon decades upon decades. But your first instinct is to be like, well, what do we have that's close to the door? Just pick something off the shelf, whatever's closest to the loading dock. That seems to be what the thought process was. Come on. It's also important to remember that the numbers were down this year for the WJPC. I can't imagine why. I guarantee you some people are sitting in a boardroom somewhere, whether it's the WJPF, if there's still anyone on the board, or at Ravensburger, congratulating themselves on another year well done. No, you did not create any of the success. Simply putting on an event does not mean you're responsible for the success of the event. The success for the event this year purely came from the competitors, the fans, the support of families, the people that watched the live streams from around the world, the people that helped, that volunteered, the live stream hosts. That's where the success of the event came from, not from the main puzzle sponsor and the WJPF. Absolutely not. Don't pat yourself on the back at all. And while I do joke that it seems like the first day, that every day seems like the first day that they have ever tried to run a puzzling event, whether it's day 1 of the competition, day 6 of the competition, year 1 of the competition, or year 5 of the competition, it always seems to be like it's the first day it's ever existed. This event is comprised of thousands of jigsaw puzzlers who essentially specialize in paying attention to small details. You don't think they're missing these? You think they're missing these giant details? Absolutely not. And if anything, they're magnified with this specific group of people. Come on, get real. All right, back to the qualifier. We're still on Qualifier A, and I don't even know how long this video is already. Student Days is now the 5th puzzle of the week that has already been used in a previous World Championship. So same issue from the individuals is now in the pairs round. Again, this came from the 2023 event. I am angry thinking about it again. I have notes written down here that I know I need to cover, but it's just each time I glance down and it says, oh, another puzzle that was used, it gets me angry all over again. And again, I wasn't even there in 2023. Also, rant back on, it's worth mentioning that puzzlers, especially the ones at the World Championships, seek out puzzles from previous years as a way to train, to kind of measure how fast they are against others. It helps people make a decision on if they're going to go to Worlds, if they think they can be competitive or not. So we aren't even getting a new puzzle in these rounds because the vast majority of us have purchased these puzzles in one way or the other. We've already given Ravensburger our money for these puzzles. And now we're spending money to go there again, and it leaves me oddly enough speechless at certain points. It's insulting. Damn it, it's insulting. Okay, back to the first round again. The majority of the pairs choose Student Days. Shocking. I can't imagine why. And the winners of this round, despite all the issues going on, it's still big congratulations to anyone who finishes the puzzle, who participates, who qualifies, doesn't matter. But congratulations to the competitors. Again, it's the people competing that make the event the success it is. But in this specific round, we have Kathy and Chiara from Germany with a time of 24:21, Lenka and Veronica from Slovakia in second at a time of 24:44, and Tyra and Tobias from Sweden with a time of 25:24 in third place. Well done to all of them and to anyone else that participated in this opening qualifier round. The next qualifier kicks off around 10:45 a.m. and the dome is already very warm. These coolers are not doing much. However, we do have some good news, and I'm being genuine here, we do actually have good news, actual good news. The Jumbotron outdoor screen is up and it is operational. It's working. Something is working that benefits the people that are there. What this means is that hundreds of people can now sit outside on the benches, on the grassy hill, on the pavement if they want to. They can puzzle outside with the tables they have there and still watch the live streams. It's going to get people out of the dome. So instead, we can sit outside in the 35-degree weather instead of being outside in the 50-degree weather. So out of the boiler into the fryer. It's hot regardless, but at least sitting outside, we have a breeze. Finally, some good news. And it does decrease the traffic inside. So great. Why this wasn't set up on the first day, and I've already talked about this in the previous video as well. How is that not done on the first day? Again, it seems like every World Championship is the first time they've ever done this. I will be releasing a video once all the recaps are done about things that I personally would like to see changed or kept the same for the World Championships 2026. Having the outdoor screen up on day one is certainly top 3, if not number 1. It's such an easy fix to have, and there's only benefits from it. Only benefits. Are they trying to save money by only renting it for 3 or 4 days instead of a full week? Well, there's that. In addition, a shout out to Spain. I think it's Spain in general, but definitely the city of Valladolid for their generous open carry alcohol law or lack of alcohol laws. Being able to sit on a grassy hill outside in nice weather with a breeze is just so relaxing. When you're done your puzzling, of course. But with that Jumbotron outside, I found the entire atmosphere of the event shifted. There was a lot more intermingling between people from various countries. You weren't all compacted into a dome. Trying to talk to people in the dome where it was super loud was tough to do, but outside where you can still pay attention to the puzzling going on, because that's what we're there for, but you can still have conversations and chat. There was a certain buzz in the air, and not necessarily related to the alcohol. Even people were doing more practice puzzles outside. The Puzzle Chicken events that started popping up as well were fun to have. But because that screen was outside and the speakers were there, we could still feel like we were part of what was happening inside of the dome while being outside and interacting with the hundreds and thousands of people that were from various countries around the world. If that's up on day one, I think a lot of people's attitudes are different throughout the week. It doesn't start off with something negative straight from day one, where everyone is melting inside of the dome. We can have people outside. We can have people watch those first few rounds in that incredibly hot dome, but be outside. It's such a simple fix. Such a simple fix. Pairs Qualifier B starts around 10:45 a.m. There are spectators inside of the dome, but despite the decreased number of spectators, because they're outside, the dome, as I mentioned, is quite warm, and there are still 5 rounds of puzzling left to do that day, with a lot of people in each round. The puzzles are about to be revealed for this round, but the bags that are holding the puzzles look slightly different, and it appears there may not be a circle puzzle in this round. This will be the first time in a qualifier for the week that a circle puzzle may not show up. And if so, it's probably likely that they chose 2 dumb puzzles instead. Pairs are given their 1 minute to open the bags and cut the stickers open, because apparently that is still a thing. And yes, the puzzle choices are dumb. The first puzzle is Sloth Selfie, which is the worst puzzle of the week so far. The puzzle is so hard, and it's super creepy as well. Those sloth faces. Sloths in real life, adorable. The sloths in this picture, no, that's terrifying. And from what was reported on the live stream, only, I think, 1 pair chose the sloths. So World Jigsaw Puzzle Clearinghouse strikes again. You're getting rid of a puzzle that no one wants to do. Congratulations. The other puzzle, Cats on the Shelf. You may be wondering why this is a dumb choice. It's an alright puzzle. It's a standard puzzle. It has fur and foliage in the same image, which is not my favorite, but that is not why this is a dumb choice. I'm going to mention the winners first. In first, with a time of 20:53, which I believe is the fastest ever qualifying time for repairs, setting a record, we have Gabriel and Alejandro from Spain. In second place, with a time of 21:17, we have Soria and Claudia from Spain. And in third, we have Ellen and Inge from the Netherlands with a time of 23:16. Also, Canadians Devin and Katie came in 5th, so well done to them as well. Now, I am not taking anything away from the top 2 teams in this round. However, this puzzle was used at the Spanish Nationals in 2024, the Cats on the Shelf. All 4 Spanish competitors that finished in the 1 and 2 in pairs did attend this event. So seriously, just design some new puzzles, Ravensburger. Any puzzles. Dogs on a shelf. I don't, just... And yes, this did set a record for the fastest pairs time of a published puzzle, so a qualifying puzzle. The individual record was also broken earlier in the week by Victor for New York Postcard, so there is that. I am wondering if they are reusing puzzles, so either or both the WJPF and or Ravensburger can kind of use these new records as promotional materials in the future. I mean, it would make sense, but the clearinghouse factor is probably the reason why. We now move on to pairs Qualifier C, and with B not having a circle, the precedent has been set. Anything can happen now going forward. There could be a circle, there might not be. There could be two circles. Who knows? Anything is on the table moving forward. The only question is, which puzzle will be a repeat or will be super challenging as the other option? Could be both, and you know what? Probably both. And the reason I do think both is a real possibility here is that Qualifier C is my pairs round, and I may have the worst luck when it comes to puzzles assigned to my various rounds, with the exception of the 2024 Canadian Nationals final, the Hello Vinyl puzzle. I have never really enjoyed a puzzle image in any competition I've been a part of. So the issue here now is that my bad luck is going to be impacting my partner. We are waiting to be allowed to our seats because remember, we first all have to be corralled into the building, into essentially a holding pen for 5 to 10 minutes beforehand, so we can get our body heat up and make the dome as hot as possible. But we can clearly see hints as to what the puzzle might be through the bags. Yeah. One of the puzzles looks like it could be some sort of landscape, but it's a little bit tough to tell. But one of them is definitely from the Colorful Creatures series. Now, if you're not familiar with the series, there are 4 puzzles in it. There is the red lionfish, the chameleon, the butterfly, and the peacock. I listed them in that order because that's kind of increasing in difficulty as you go through. Now, I know it's not going to be the red lionfish because, one, that is one of my practice puzzles, and I'm not that lucky when it comes to puzzle choices. It's also the easiest, and they're not going to give us the easiest of a puzzle in that series. We know it's not the peacocks, thank God, because apparently Ravensburger made a social media post, from what I hear. I haven't seen it, but I've been told about it by a lot of people. That essentially said, we've left all our peacocks in Germany, indicating that they haven't brought the toughest puzzle in the series. So there's that, which leaves it with chameleon or butterfly. Now, chameleon is slightly more difficult than red lionfish, but not significantly. It's a tough pairs puzzle for sure, as separating the tasks isn't super easy, but it would be fun. And then there's the butterfly. The butterfly is deceptively easy. If it shows up, people will pick it because it looks simple. There's only 3 colors on it, really. There's the pink and the green in the background, and essentially the yellow of the butterfly. It's the ugliest butterfly I think they could have picked. Throw a monarch in there or something with a few more colors, but whatever. It's deceptively tough. It is a very hard puzzle to do. Now, the butterfly has also been used this year in 2025, not even last year's nationals, this year's nationals, the Finnish and Portuguese nationals. So it's probably likely that's the one they choose. Chameleon has also been used as well, and I think red lionfish has shown up too, but it's going to be butterfly. And it is. We open the bags, and butterfly is the first puzzle that falls out. I've done this one before. I know it's challenging. I would prefer not to do this one. However, I've told my partner I am not making the final decision because I choose wrong. It's, again, not an easy puzzle. So that is great. We know which one we're definitely not doing. The other one can't possibly be just as tough until we see the lupins. Lupins. The Lupins have returned. It is, as I mentioned earlier in this video, it was an individual puzzle from the 2023 Worlds. Probably one of the most challenging puzzles that has ever been in a qualifying round at the World Championships. I don't know what they were possibly... maybe no one is buying this puzzle for obvious reasons. Only 34 out of the 93 competitors in 2023 finished the puzzle in that round. Less than half of the people finished it in an individual round. A ridiculous choice for an individual round. Now they're bringing it back for a pairs event. This is my nightmare scenario, but choosing between these two puzzles. Butterflies with plants and stuff in the background. Lupins, which is just all plants on it. It's like Sophie's Choice, but you hate both kids and are being forced to keep one. I'm glad that I kind of let my partner take the lead on this one. My partner, Tess McLaughlin, and I go with Lupins. Using the phrase lesser of two evils doesn't seem it's as generous of it, because there's not really a lesser in this case. Most people tended to lean towards Lupins. At least the sky is somewhat easier to get through, and the Lupins are somewhat sortable. The butterfly is just chaos. So, but speaking with people that did choose it, it looks deceptively simple. It's not. Veronica and Anna from Poland win the round with a time of 25:52. Absolutely no surprise there. Melissa and Rihanna from Australia come in second with a time of 27:39. It is worth noting that Melissa was in the 2023 round with the Lupins. So getting this one a second time at the World Championships I am not speaking for anybody, but again, if it was me, I would be furious. If I was flying from Australia as well to Spain and you get the same puzzle 2 years out of 3, no. Third place was Amelia and Stephanie from Finland with a time of 28:09, who also chose Lupins, so well done to those top 3. But I also want to mention fourth place, which was Rosa and Hannah, also from Finland. The reason I want to point them out is that Amelia, Stephanie, Rosa, and Hannah all competed at the Finnish Nationals this year, which had the butterfly in the pairs final. All 4 of those individuals finished between first and fourth place at the Finnish Nationals final. Not a single one of them chose butterfly at Worlds. They had just won or came close to winning their national championship with butterfly, and even they knew Lupins was the way to go. That's how bad of an option butterfly is. The Finnish champions clearly wanted nothing to do with it again. Clearinghouse. My partner and I finished that round in 36th place. It was the first time we had ever competed with each other. We'd only done 2 practice puzzles before that, so we'll take it. It was also my worst case scenario for a puzzle. I probably didn't contribute as much as I should have in that. I maybe did 35% of the puzzle, tested the majority of it. It was also 100 degrees Celsius probably inside of that dome. It was not making excuses, but it was just not an ideal time of the day, starting in just after 12, heat's rising, coolers not cooling. But you know what? We moved on. Great. Our round ended close to 2 p.m. And there's one qualifier left in pairs, which the semifinals for pairs starts later that day at 6:30 p.m. Unfortunately, the swamp coolers aren't doing their job at all, because of course they're not. But you know what? It's fine. It's the swamp cooler's first day. So while the dome is getting much warmer, it's going to be nice to get this final pairs qualifier out of the way, empty everyone out of the dome, especially during the hottest part of the day, and let it cool down for a few hours once the final qualifier is done. That's the logical approach I would take here. However, a scheduling decision was made to have about a 2.5-hour break between Qualifier C and D, and after Qualifier D was done, they would go straight into the semifinals. This is definitely in the top 5 worst decisions of the week. Look, I get the dome is hot in the mid-afternoon, but that's not going to change much. Emptying the dome, but still having the hot afternoon sun beating down on the dome by late afternoon, a late afternoon, early evening sun, which would have less of an impact, allowing the dome to cool down a few degrees before the semifinals, would make more sense to have that when the dome is empty, instead of removing people when it's hot, but it's going to stay hot anyways. We can all see what's going to happen. So the dome is emptied after Qualifier C. Surprisingly, the temperature doesn't decrease in the mid-afternoon boiling sun. So when everyone returns at 4:30 p.m. for Qualifier D, the dome is just as hot. Absolutely nothing has changed inside of that dome. Now people will have to puzzle for that qualifier in that heat, then immediately go into the semifinals for the pairs. And the people that are about to do Qualifier D are going to have about 2 hours ish to attempt to rehydrate, rest maybe, and then go straight back into the dome for their semifinal later that same night. Top-notch scheduling. For this round, the 2 puzzles are revealed. We have Loving Longhorns, which is a very common practice puzzle. It's been out for a while. And the circle puzzles have returned, which is fine, with a Lilo and Stitch themed puzzle. Disney has made an appearance at the World Championships. I am not completely surprised based on the fact the world record attempt was a Disney puzzle, so there was indications Disney could show up, but you didn't really think it was going to happen. A Disney branded puzzle is a huge surprise and causes a bit of confusion. Why are Disney puzzles showing up? Will there be more now that the barrier has been broken? Will a finals or semifinals unreleased puzzle be a new Disney? Unlikely, but who knows? Will the teams events also have Disney themed puzzles? Spoiler, yeah, they do. The smart choice here was the Longhorns. I can see the temptation with the Stitch puzzle. But first place was a new record-breaking time for pairs previously published puzzles with a time of 18:45, which was Victor and Natalia from Poland. Victor's second record of the week. So no surprises there. And also, again, no surprise with second or third. We have Jana and Katarina from the Czech Republic with a time of 20:38 for second place. And in third, also from the Czech Republic, we have Teresa and Marketa. Just 2 very fast pairs from the Czech Republic. So nothing surprising in the top 3 here. This was a very fast round overall, despite the heat. However, let's circle back to the website that I discussed in part 3. With such a short turnover between the qualifiers and the semifinals, people were checking the website even more. The people that were in Qualifier D have less than 2 hours to find out if they're in the finals or not. And while that seems like a very long time, we know that that website is updated slowly, if it works at all. I can't even access it, as I mentioned before, because my phone and web provider have blocked me from it because of the dangers of the website with all the ads on it. I did mention in my previous video that the ads were gone from the website. They have since returned, at least on my phone, which has been super annoying the past couple days. So they haven't learned. But what everyone is checking for on the website is a green flashing letter Q beside their names, beside their pairing. Another unnecessary media feature that just slows down the website. A static green queue would be just as informational on there, but including the constantly flashing media, it just slows down the website. It doesn't make it look better or fancier, it just slows things down. But we are looking for the queues. The queues did not show up for Qualifier D. So you just have to kind of show up when they get there. It's now a few days into October. As I write my notes out for this video, the queue is still not beside anyone's name for Qualifier D. Still not entered. I'm sure they'll be updated any day now, just in time for an event that took place 3 weeks ago. This video is getting a bit long. I do want to take a brief moment before I get into the semifinal rounds to acknowledge certain people in that dome. And it's the live stream commentators. Some are there for almost every single round, which must be exhausting, not just because you need to be talking constantly, but because of the heat in there. They're sitting down for a good chunk of the day in a very, very hot room, surrounded by a lot of electrical equipment, which is going to be producing its own heat as well. And I can't imagine what it's like having to sit there that entire day with very few breaks, because as soon as one event's done, the next round starts. Some people only did 1 or 2 co-hosting rounds. Some were there for almost every single one. To top it off as well, the live stream hosts were sitting with a background behind them. So when they appeared on the live stream, there was the sponsors in the background, because you have to have the sponsors in the background. But that would be a maximum of 4 or 5 feet off the ground from when it was cut off. For some reason, the display behind them was 7 to 8 feet tall, I want to say, which perfectly blocked off the air conditioning system directly behind them. So not only did they have to sit in the dome, their source of cooling was removed for the entire week. Well done to them. The reason I bring this up is there was minimal time between Qualifier D and the first pair semifinal, which would take all the semifinalists from Qualifier A and B, which were happened much earlier in the day. Maybe 30 minutes of a break was scheduled in between the two, 45 at most. So the organizers decided to return to their time-tested approach to cooling the dome down, kick everyone out for a few minutes, and hope it gets colder. It did allow the live streamers to have a bit of a break. Here is a picture of Jim, otherwise known as nerd_puzzle on Instagram, getting some much needed rest. He did, at least for the English live stream, the most commentating over the course of the week. If you are running a event and any of your workers look like this at any point during the day, you've done something wrong. You need to fix something. But getting a much needed break there, and he wasn't the only one that kind of had this exhaustion going on. So, but again, thank you to the commentators in there. I do have a planned appreciation video to shoot at some point. And yeah, definitely highlighting the live stream co-host commentators for doing such a great job throughout the week. If you haven't already done so, if you participated at the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships or you watched any of the live streams, leave a comment below thanking the commentators. Send a message to them if you know what their social media accounts are. But definitely thank those people in particular. It couldn't have been easy. Thank you to all of them, whether they did 1 round or 20 rounds. Again, thank you to them. The first pair semifinal started about 20 minutes behind schedule. Because an extra few minutes to cool down the dome with no people in it was needed. It didn't work, but they tried. We are now into the unreleased puzzles, which does cause a bit more excitement. There are a lot of people watching outside now, so the dome is less crowded, but it is also a semifinal round, so it's new puzzles, and these are always being bought up as quickly as possible. So there is more people inside to buy these puzzles. The line tends to go down pretty quick. The people selling the puzzles also did a fantastic job over the weekend. They were on top of things. Whoever was deciding how many puzzles to bring dropped the ball a couple times, but for the most part, that was one of the things inside the dome that ran pretty smoothly for most of the week. The anticlimax of the puzzle reveal takes place because we need to give people time to cut the stickers, because that is a Herculean task, apparently, for the organizers this year. And Furry Friends is the puzzle. Also, doesn't it seem like naming the puzzles is becoming a lazy job as well? Furry Friends? Come on. However, I do really like this puzzle. It's fun, it's cute, even if there is fur, and I am against having fur in puzzles. It's not my favorite at all, but it's minimal in this case. It's all the same color, but it's different textures. So, if there's not tons of it, I can get past it. I've done this puzzle with a partner since I've been back in Canada. It is not as easy as I thought it would be at all. What was most annoying about this puzzle, though, is not knowing for sure what the middle animal is. We definitely have the yellow jumper, which is the panda. The pink jumper is a raccoon or trash panda, if you're in Canada. And then we have the orange jumper. There were some people that said it was a beaver. No, give your head a shake if you think it's a beaver. Look up an image of a beaver. That face, nowhere near a beaver. And where's the tail? Not a beaver. As someone from Canada, I can guarantee you that is not a beaver. I don't care what anyone says, even if they painted it themselves, not a beaver. Some people said a mouse or a rat or a mole. I don't think so. This is a groundhog. I will die on that hill. If Ravensburger or the artists of the puzzle can confirm this, that would be great. But if they say anything other than Ravensburger, I'm not really believing you. Sorry, if they say anything other than groundhog, sorry, I'm not going to believe that. It's a groundhog. Kathy and Chiara from Germany finish in first place with a time of 25:23, which is incredible. Ellen and Inge from the Netherlands come in second with a time of 25:38, and 3 seconds later with a time of 25:41 is Tyra and Tobias from Sweden. All 3 top spots separated by just 18 seconds. I believe this is the closest podium finish of the week so far. So well done to those 3. The top 50 pairs do move on, and the final pair coming in 50th is Inka and Nora from Finland with a time of 36:01. 36:01 is the last pair to qualify. It highlights how tough it is to make it out of the semifinals. So for those who still finished with a time of in the 37 or 38, 39, which is still super impressive, it's not easy to get through to the next round. Now that we've seen the first unreleased puzzle and how fun and unique it is, I really hope my semifinal puzzle is also a fun new puzzle. I mean, they wouldn't give us more flowers after the Lupin nonsense. The second semifinal also starts behind schedule, as they do keep kicking people out of the dome to cool it down. What's that quote about the definition of insanity? But as we do enter the dome at around 8:30 p.m., good thing myself and a bunch of others haven't already spent the day puzzling and being dehydrated and have a teams competition tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The heat is almost unbearable at this point. Everyone seems to have some sort of fan or cooling system around them. I'm having to wear a bandana to try to keep sweat out of my eyes. It's hot in that dome, and it's just sweat everywhere. The coolers are barely doing anything at this point. The sun has gone down as well. The light show above us has started a bit, but there were reports of the day of the coolers sometimes blowing over box tops while people were competing, so that's fun. Our puzzle is revealed, and it is Frida Kahlo Blooming Fantasy. This one right here. Not quite as fun as the first round pick. Pick someone with an angrier face next time. Even Frida isn't happy at the scenario going on around her. The heat is not great. Look at, she doesn't seem happy. Also more flowers. Awesome. If I had picked Lake Como in my qualifying individual round instead of the dumb decision with the desserts, I would have done flowers or had a puzzle with flowers in every single one of my rounds so far this week. To the puzzle artists out there, please, let's just take a 2-year hiatus from flowers and puzzles. That's it. Just throw all the other creative ideas you have in there. Flowers, just off to this, make us miss them, right? Just give us a chance to be like, oh, you know what? It used to be fun to do flowers. I wish they'd bring them back. And then you can bring them back. But give us a chance to miss the flowers. The winners of this round, super surprising. Victor and Natalia from Poland with a time of 23:26. Second place is Veronica and Anna from Poland with a time of 24:50. And in third place from the Czech Republic, Jana and Katarina with a time of 24:59. At this point, the clear front runners, but based on who finished first, second, third, fourth-ish in the first semifinal, and who finished in the top 5 in the second semifinal, we know who is likely to be really competing for the pairs final in a couple days. We'll get to that soon enough, though. But congratulations to all these incredible partnerships and puzzlers. 23-26 for this for Frida. Well done. The pairs day ends and we all head back to our hotels, unaware of the day ahead of us. A storm is brewing in the distance and heading straight for Valladolid, along with quite a few leaks, both above us and online. That is it for this video. There are 2 more planned recap episodes in this series, so make sure that you are caught up before they are released later in the week. Speed Puzzling 101 lessons have returned with a new episode coming up next week after I'm done with the recaps, but a new one went up last week and could be helpful. Check them out and check out the rest of the series too, especially if you are a newer speed puzzler. Episode 5 of Puzzled and Chatty has also been released, where I sit down with Canadian speed puzzler Liam Kearns and talk with them. More episodes are being filmed and will be released over the coming weeks and months. And that is it. So until next time, as always, happy puzzling. Bye.